Good morning. Are you ready?
I was like
It's
totally
like
in
I
a
caught you
daze.
off guard. There's literally a countdown that says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I was looking at it, but I was like in a
She was
daze.
mesmerized.
So hi everyone, I'm awake.
Mesmerized by all of your beauty.
Yes. How's everybody doing today? I hope it's going great in your house. It's going great here.
Yeah.
We've done our grocery shopping this morning, and
Went to the gym, kicked all the kids out of the house.
yeah, so it's just us and you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, we've got some surprises planned for today.
We better not have any surprises planned for today. I do not want to do that again.
For those of you that maybe didn't watch last week's episode, there actually were surprises on that one. So I thought I would just see what Lysandra's response was if I said it again.
I don't want to get an egg on my head again.
Okay.
I really don't.
I will not put an egg on your head this episode.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Specifically, I said egg.
Yeah, I got it, but that's all right. I'll take it.
Okay. Cool.
But we should get into this episode. We're going to talk about if everything's a big deal, nothing's a big deal, and parenting.
Unless I do a little twist and take the episode in a direction that she doesn't know we're going.
You do that a lot.
So
But that's okay.
we'll see what happens.
All right.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Lysandra. This is my wife, Thomas.
Hello, and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 147 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about choosing your battles with your kids. Because if everything's a big deal, nothing's a big deal.
Before we jump into this, there's something I need to make a big deal about.
Okay?
And that is our Facebook group, our private Facebook group. It's Family Meeting Online. And I posed a question in there this morning, and I've got some interesting responses.
I haven't seen it yet.
The question is, what board game are you not allowed to play anymore in your family?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the overwhelming responses so far for Monopoly.
Yeah, that's the one we can't play in our house anymore.
What is it about Monopoly that so many families have a hard time with?
It's not the families that have a hard time. It's you.
No, I'm not the only one, obviously, because there's so many people that have answered the same exact thing.
Yeah, but
so
I
there's
think
something about Monopoly itself that is divisive, that tears families apart, and I think we need to boycott Monopoly.
Listen.
People are big at boycotting things now.
Yeah.
I've not gone on that bandwagon, but I think Monopoly is the one I'm choosing.
But the reason that we can't play Monopoly, it's not because of me. It's not because of the kids.
It is
It's
your
you.
fault. It is your fault.
You are the reason we can't play Monopoly. Otherwise, this could be a Monopoly home.
You cheat.
I don't cheat.
So it is
I
your
win,
fault.
and it makes you so mad that he literally threw the board across the room. This was before we had kids.
You cheat.
He
and
got
then you,
so mad.
And then you're surprised when I get upset.
Because I just kept getting money.
Because I caught you.
I was like rolling in the dough, and he was like taking bank loans and everything else.
Well, here's the thing. If you're so good at this and you weren't cheating, why can't you do it for us in real life?
Whatever, dude.
Why are we not rolling in the dough here if you could do it in real life? If
Babe.
it's just, oh, I'm good at it.
Babe, I have a secret bank account. I have tons of money.
Oh, great.
You just have no idea.
Sweet. I'm going shopping today.
Don't you dare.
So, but I would
it's
be
Monopoly.
interested to hear what your response to that is. Like,
Yeah.
what is the board game for you? So if you're not yet in the Facebook group, jump in. You can go right to our Facebook page. It says join group on the little button. Hop in. We'd love to have you a part of that conversation.
Yeah, and let me say this. I love our family meeting online group. It is so fun. It's like this little community, it feels like. And we're all talking about parenting together or marriage or whatever it might be. And I love the questions that are placed on there. And I love to hear the responses. It is really, it's an enjoyable group.
And it's a great place for all of you to share your experience with us, share your stories with us, share the news and the helpful articles and different things. We had an article shared just the other day about 2 police officers who got themselves in some trouble because they put their kid in jail 2 different times for potty training incidents.
What?
So they put their I think it was their son in jail.
I missed this.
Yeah, for like 7 minutes one time, 15 minutes another, and they had handcuffed him at one point. And so I guess the kid was crying, saying, "I'll use the potty," or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
I mean, I have to admit though, if there's anything in parenting that would make me lose my mind,
potty training.
it's potty training. I hated that
Some
stage.
of you can identify with that.
God bless you, potty training mamas. I love you. You're going to do this. Eventually, they will use the toilet.
Eventually.
I promise. Keep working.
But we also have some exciting update about the book.
Yes, our book
Happily
is coming
Never After.
Yep.
The cover, the whole official cover is done.
Yep.
All the editing and all that kind of stuff is done. We've got the ISBN number purchased.
The barcode is there.
It's all there, and it's literally just now trying to cross the finish line with a couple last little things before we are able to order our sample copy, our preview copy. And then once we check that, then we can get pre-orders available and ready to go. So
Yeah.
we are shooting for the end of July to have it ready to go for you.
I'm so excited about this.
So-
This is a project that Thomas and I have been wanting to work on together since the beginning of our marriage.
Yeah.
We have really talked about like, oh, it'd be so fun to write a book together, and God has allowed us to do that now, 20 years later.
Well, because 20 years ago, we didn't know jack squat about being married or how to have a relationship or
That is true, and we share that in the book.
handle conflict.
We kind of had to like make a bunch of mistakes so that you could have some great content in this book.
Well, here's what I think is funny about it. We have certain people that we talk to that don't really know us, and they look at us from the outside, and maybe you're one of them, and you just think, oh man, they got the perfect house, the perfect little family, 4 daughters, a dog, the perfect marriage and relationship, and it's so easy for you. And I just want to say, it's not been easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy now, and we're going to talk about something we dealt with just this past week.
Mm-hmm.
But we've made a lot of mistakes. We just chose to learn from those mistakes.
Yes.
And we just keep on working on it every day. So if you think we've got it perfect and all together, read the book and you will know why am I even listening to these people.
You will no longer respect us. So,
Exactly.
so it's going to be perfect. Anyway, but we need to get on with our episode. So here's a question that I want to ask you is, have you ever felt like you somewhere along the line became a parent who harps on your kids constantly about everything?
No,
Never?
never.
Yeah, because you don't notice anything. You're not like, I'm the bad guy in the family.
I feel like I've become a husband whose wife harps on him about that I should harp on the kids about everything. Is that fairly accurate?
It's so accurate.
Not everything, but
It's so accurate. Well, it's gotten to the point where I have become the bad guy constantly. So we'll all be in the room together, and I will send Thomas a text being like, so-and-so's shoes are in the middle of the living room. So-and-so didn't do the dishes. And Thomas will like check his phone and be like, hey, so-and-so, go put your shoes away. Hey, so-and-so, go do the dishes.
I'm like, how dare you leave your shoes in the middle of the living room?
But really, you don't notice any of that.
I don't.
That's kind of me. So the question is, have you become that parent who harps on your kids constantly about everything? And if you feel that way, maybe it's because you are. I know that sometimes I feel that way, and sometimes it's because I am. Maybe you just have a problem with mom guilt or dad guilt, and you
Is
just
dad guilt a thing?
I don't know.
I would assume based
you said
on
one
personality
time
type.
one
maybe.
time you said something about dad guilt, so I guess it is, but I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it might just be like you're insecure about your parenting, or it may be that you're right. You really just are having a problem with this. All I ever do is yell at my kids. Maybe the reason you feel that way is because all you ever do is yell at your kids.
Yeah.
So today we want to talk about choosing our battles with our children, because if everything's a big deal, then nothing's a big deal.
And when raising children, there's so much to think about. There's so many things we want them to know before they leave our house. But there's also so much that we want them to become before they leave our home.
Mm-hmm.
And from the moment they're born, we're working on instilling behavior, character habits, knowledge, and so much more. Will your kids be perfect? No. Do any of us have the ability to produce perfect children? No, we don't. We just do our best to try to not to screw them up.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, we don't give up. We just keep trying.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not perfect. Hopefully, you've not given up.
Right.
But each of us only have a certain amount of time with our kids. And I was thinking about this with a Facebook post we made, and it was literally counting down the weekends from the time they're born, and each year showing how many weekends you got left with them.
Yeah.
And that was a wake-up call. Like, man,
Yeah.
with a couple of ours, we've got not many left.
It's tough to think about that stuff. So we only have a certain amount of time with our children to instill all these important things that we have. So where will you spend your time as you're training your kids? So today, all of us, we're going to think of a pie chart. Okay, so got a pie chart in your mind?
Pie.
I know, right? Is yours pizza or is it like a fruity pie? Like what kind of pie?
One of each.
Ah, so you've got two pie charts
Strawberry
going.
rhubarb with the pizza next to it.
Yes. Okay. So you've got your pie chart in your mind. Each slice of pie represents the amount of time over 18 years that you're going to spend training your children on each little aspect of life. Okay? So how big a slice of pie do you want cleaning to be?
Depends on the kid.
I'm going to spend this amount of time talking to my kid about picking up their shoes, making their bed, tidying their room, not leaving their trash out, doing dishes without being asked. Okay, how much time are you going to spend on that? How big a slice does kindness get? What did you just say to your brother or sister? You can't talk that way. How did you treat that friend at school? Da da da. How much time do you want to spend teaching them to cook? Can you read a recipe? Da 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 da. How much time do you spend correcting them in the way that they speak, the words that they use? How much time do you spend helping them with homework? How much time do you spend pushing them to get good grades and succeed educationally? And I could go on and on and on. I won't for all of your sake. But just think about how important each of the slice of pie is and how much time you want to spend on each item. Is there something way out of whack?
Well, and I'll say this. If you're spending the exact same amount of time on each thing with each of your kids, if you have more than one, you're not doing it right.
Interesting.
Because let's go back to the cleaning thing, for instance.
Okay.
Because we have at least one of our daughters, if not a couple of them, that cleaning is their thing. Mm-hmm. Like they like things clean and neat and in order. So if you're spending the exact same time training and talking about cleaning with the one who does it on their own naturally and the one who, hey, they could never clean and live in filth and be fine. Either you're not talking about it enough to the one or you're talking about it way too much for the other.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, obviously you have to know your kids and allocate the right amount of time with each of them on that. And so you have to take some time just to evaluate yourself as a parent. How much time do you spend on these different things? And as you consider these things, you may realize that one or more areas are out of balance. Maybe one of those slices of pie is just way too big.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so let's bring this home, Thomas.
Okay.
All right, you and me. What is an area that is kind of like your pet peeve and you spend too much time harping on this one thing with our kids?
I've got a couple of them. A couple of things that really bother me, and it feels like I talk about them constantly. One is chewing with your mouth open. Like chew with your mouth closed. I can't stand it.
That piece of pie is just really big. It's half the pie.
There's times where I'm like, I have to leave an area where the kids are eating. Because if not, I'll lose my mind. The other one is lights.
Yeah.
Like leaving the lights on. I came down this morning at 3-something to go to the gym, and all the lights in the dining room are on for some reason. We went to someone else's house for supper last night. We didn't even use the dining room last night, and yet all the lights are on in there.
I don't know how we missed that. Did they turn them on like when they took Coconut for his last walk or something?
They had to have.
Must be.
There's no other reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
But all the time.
Yeah. You talk about that a lot.
I'm looking over in my kitchen where no one is at right now. The girls left and the kitchen light's on.
I like that though, because I like to look at the kitchen and I like to see that it's bright and clean. If the lights are off, I think it looks dingy and dark.
And I don't know when it started with the light thing. Like I said, I'm not worried about how much the light bill is. I don't know what it is. It's just when you become a dad, I think.
Yeah, something in you switches and all of a sudden light switches.
Yeah.
The light goes on.
Those are a couple of things that I talk about constantly.
Yeah. So
that and shutting doors. Like, don't leave doors open. Like to the outside.
Oh, to the outside.
Hot summer.
Like bedroom doors? Yeah.
And they leave the doors open.
Yes. It's like your air conditioning the outside or something.
Yeah.
Do you care? Is that what you care about?
No, I don't want to get hot.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Mine.
Which one are you going to choose?
There are so many. One thing that I spend too much time harping about.
Yeah, that slice of pie that's just way too big for you.
Can you tell me what you think mine is? Because I have so many flooding through my mind right now that I can't really decide which one to share. I feel like I got a lot of problems, people.
Most of the ones that I think about have to do with cleaning.
Yeah.
So whether it's leaving the dishes or leaving your clothes or your shoes around, not picking up after yourself.
All right, moms, can you feel me? The other moms out there are like, yes, preach.
Yeah, so I think that's what I hear most from you.
Yeah, that's what I feel like I talk about constantly.
Like, I don't notice the stuff, but I hear you talk about it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so maybe the problem is your slice of pie is too big on one particular area.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your problem.
Or maybe that's not. Maybe you're just trying to create this perfect human being out of your child. And you've gotten to the place where you are harping on everything or yelling about everything, shaming and guilting them about everything. And when we do this, we make everything a big deal, so nothing's a big deal. I've been to churches like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where whoever's up there is standing and screaming about every little thing, and it's like, that's their only tone the whole time they're up there. And it's like, I kind of drowned out everything you're saying. Like, nothing you're saying is important if you're hollering the entire time.
Yes, I'm with you on that. Tune it out.
And our kids tune us out. They tune us out like all the time. They're good at it.
Right.
But especially if you're just up in arms about every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to figure out what's really important and choose your battles. Lysandra, what's something that you needed to let go of after reevaluating?
Okay, so as I think about not making everything a big deal, I realize I definitely have a problem with this. I'm a perfectionist by nature, and I have very high expectations for myself and everyone else in my family, including you, Thomas. And you feel that, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so I have really high expectations. I like things clean and neat and in order. I like things done on time. Behavior is really, really important to me, like kindness and character. So not making everything a big deal has been a really big challenge for me my entire parenting career. But I'm going to share one example today.
Yeah,
with all of you.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So you're with me that I have a problem.
Yes, in this area, yeah.
Okay. But I'm going to share one example with you today of something that I really do believe I have basically let go of.
I will say this before you say that.
Okay.
Because for me, often it's not that everything is a big deal, it's that maybe some things that should be a big deal aren't a big deal. So I tend to swing the other way, maybe.
Yeah, and then we try to parent together.
Yeah.
And we're coming at it from two extremes. Anybody else relate?
Hopefully it leads to a balance.
I bet a lot of you can relate to this, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that I've chosen to let go, like the battle I've chosen not to fight anymore, is dress, like the way my kids dress. When they were younger, I matched them all every single day. They all wore the same little dresses.
They were so cute.
They were so cute. Even their hair was parted on the same side, and their hairstyles were the same with the same bow in the same spot. Okay, that's how much I like to control the way that they looked and dressed. I wanted them to look perfect. And that was just part of who I am about everything. Like, it wasn't just appearance; it was also character and behavior and all
I
that.
will say that came in handy when we were out in public. It made it really easy to do a quick count. Like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. There
Yes.
they all are.
Like at the park, you could always find them because they were all in the pink shirt or whatever.
So, although it was adorable, maybe maybe over the top, but in certain situations, it was super handy.
And it didn't matter when they were little; they didn't
They
care.
enjoyed it then.
Yeah, they actually loved it.
There were times where like, you can pick out whatever you want to wear this time. It's a special time.
Yeah, pick anything.
Choose your own, and they would choose to match each other.
But they would talk about it. They would be like, Catherine, do you want to wear this? She'd be like, no, what about this? And they would discuss back and forth which set of outfits they were going to wear. It was kind of cute. Oh, well, I miss it.
But I remember having conversations with you, like, listen, now they enjoy it. The day is coming where they won't want to dress alike anymore.
Yes.
Every once in a while now they still do that.
Yeah, every once in a while. Well, and like Violet wants to match me.
Yeah.
She'll be like, Mom, let's both wear black tank tops and jean shorts. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. Okay, but anyway, I knew that the day would come that I had to let that go, and I did. It was around, 12, 13, 14, like in those ages when, maybe even 11, maybe 11 to 14, because they would kind of sometimes dress alike and sometimes not. But it even got more difficult than that. Not just letting go of them dressing alike, but also the choices in clothes that they would make.
Styles and everything.
Like, one of our daughters really likes like baggy, sloppy clothing, which is a pet peeve of mine. I don't like that. They all like wearing anime t-shirts, which is absolutely not my style.
Yeah, you're not a fan.
Not a fan.
Unlike Brie, you don't wear the shirts yourself either, right?
Right. No, I don't. I don't have an anime shirt. Some moms have anime shirts. So anyway, just stuff like that. Like they wanted to wear sweatshirts everywhere, and to me, sweatshirts say sloppy, and I don't care. No offense to any of you lovely people out there who are
just offended a lot of people who love
sweatshirts all the
sweatshirts.
time.
I personally like, if it's cool, I love my sweatshirt.
Yeah, and I get that. But they wanted to wear sweatshirts like everywhere. Things like that. And I came to a place where I let it go. I was like, okay, you want to wear a sweatshirt? Wear a sweatshirt. Like, I just let it go. And I still dislike sometimes what they wear, and I just don't talk about it. I've let it go because I know this is something that it's like my hobby horse. It's my thing.
Well, there are times where I really don't care what to wear, but there's times I step in and it's like, hey, it's July in Florida. You don't need a sweatshirt outside.
Right. Yes.
So there's times where I was like,
yeah.
You look really weird right now, and I know you're hot.
And you're going to be sweaty and stinky.
Yeah.
Like, you got it. It's got to go. But because I am so extreme in this, I pretty much let Thomas handle it because he's not as extreme as me. And I look at my pie chart and I think, in the 18 years that I have to parent these girls, how big a slice of pie do I want to use and spend on clothing? How much does that really matter in the end? I don't want to just make everything a big deal. And that was something I could let go.
And I mentioned my 2 big pet peeves, and I'm working really hard on letting those go. A couple days ago, Lysandra made one of my absolute favorite soups. Like, I eat soup even in summer. I love it. Cheeseburger chowder, one of my favorite soups. We sit down for supper, and my youngest daughter's sitting next to me, and slurping and then chewing with her mouth open. And there's like no music, background music. There's nothing else happening in the house, which is so rare.
Yeah, I love having music on. Why did I not have my music on?
It's almost like somebody had a megaphone and was like slurping and chewing with their mouth open, smacking their lips. And I'm just like, I thought about saying something rude. And I didn't say it. And
what did you want to say? We want to hear what you
I don't remember in the moment what I wanted to say, but I know how it makes me feel in the moment, so it probably wouldn't have been very nice. But I didn't say anything, and I didn't get up and leave. There have been times where I'm just, all right, I'm not eating with you guys because this is ridiculous. I just chilled, and I didn't say anything.
Let it go. You chose your battle.
Well, and with the lights.
Okay.
So I've not talked to the girls. I saw the girls today, all of them, talked to all of them. Didn't mention the lights at all that they left on. And so often when I come down in the morning to go to the gym, the lights are on, and I've stopped harping on them about it. Because in reality, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It really isn't. So there's not a good reason for me to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it.
Okay. So, you parents out there, us parents here, we've reevaluated our parenting. And you realize that you've made everything a big deal. So nothing is a big deal anymore. How do you figure out what to let go of and what to pursue? So, like, think about this, Thomas. Maybe you feel like you're making everything a big deal. So you got to start choosing your battles. You got to start stop harping on them about everything. So you say, all right, I'm not going to remind them to read their Bible anymore. I've made everything a big deal, so I'm just going to let go of Bible reading. What do you think about that?
Well, for me, my faith and leading my children in my faith is one of my number one top priorities. So that would not be one I would choose to cut out. I would probably choose something else.
Yeah. So the point is, when you're trying to figure out what are you going to let go of, you got to be careful, right? You've got to think it through. So how do you choose what is the thing that I'm going to let go? And one of the first things that we believe you should do is pursue the Holy Spirit's leading on this. And this maybe sounds kind of Christian cliche. Ask God, right?
Yeah.
But truly, we have a very difficult time knowing what to pursue and chase after with the girls and what to let go, because we're flawed human beings. We're flawed human beings who are trying to raise these kids. And a lot of times it's like, I don't know what I should let go and what I should keep, training, and how big a piece of pie to give this thing. But the Holy Spirit knows. He knows what is right and what is good. And so if you truly pray and open up your heart to God, ask him to show you what's important to him for your children. And see, that's what's important here. We're talking about going and finding out what is important to God for your children. What should you be focusing on and what should you be letting go of? And then what you've got to do is you have got to try to just put away your own pet peeves and hobby horses as you seek God's opinion. Because you're saying, I'm no longer obsessed with the way that they dress, because I know that this really doesn't matter. It doesn't probably matter to God if my daughter is in a sweatshirt when she should be dressed nicely, in my opinion. It probably doesn't matter. So really allow God to lead you and guide you, and don't allow your personal opinions to be interpreted as God's driving you in a certain direction. Just let go of your own stuff. Let go of your own stuff. And let God come in and lead you in the right direction. So that's kind of the first step.
And I think a practical thing for us to do as parents is to remember what the goal is, right? The goal is to raise up world changers.
Yep.
That's what we want. And so think about the top priorities when it comes to raising a world changer. What are those big priorities in your life? So for us, our faith, that's our top priority. That's how we're going to change the world. But there's other things as well in there. So when you talk about discipline and kindness and some of these things, and so kind of going through and thinking about it, making a list of what you want your children to become, and all right, what things in their life help them with that. Mm-hmm. So thinking about what those things are, and all right, this is top priority, this is second, this is somewhere down the line. And if it's third, fourth, fifth down the line, I'm not making as big a deal about that as I am numbers 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And so that can be a way to kind of help you gauge, how big of a deal should I make about this certain thing. Is keeping the lights on, forgetting to shut the lights off, going to stop my daughters from changing the world? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Now, if they're not faithful to seek God's face, if they don't know how to read and study the Bible for themselves and see what he wants for them and how they can live a life that he can bless, will that keep them and hold them back from changing the world? In my opinion, yes.
Right.
So I emphasize that more. So that way you can kind of evaluate not just yourself, but also, all right, what is actually important in accomplishing what I want to accomplish in my child's life.
And I recognize that some of you are married to someone who have extreme differences of opinions about what's important. And that is difficult.
Yeah.
It is difficult to co-parent when the other parent does not see things as important as you do, or they have a high importance on things that you really truly believe don't matter and are not a big deal. And that's a difficult situation. And I would say that's a time when a lot of communication needs to happen, probably some compromise. And then ultimately you have to do the best you can do on your end, because you cannot change your spouse.
Yeah. So having that conversation with your spouse, like you said, and finding out the why behind, why do you feel like that's so important? Sometimes that helps us, because for them, they may look at something as, hey, this is important because if they're going to change the world, they got to have discipline. And learning to make your bed every morning teaches that kind of discipline. And so then you can begin to understand, okay, that's why making the bed every morning is so high on your priority list.
Yeah.
Whereas I look at it as a complete waste of time. So sometimes that understanding can help us in that compromise situation. But here's this thing. All right, how do I know if the thing that I'm making a big deal out of, I should make a big deal out of? And one of the things that Lysandra and I do is just get a sanity check. That's what we call it. I just need a sanity check right now. Am I crazy for feeling this way, thinking this way, doing this thing? And we just had an instance this past week where sanity check was needed. So
I was the crazy one, spoiler.
Yeah.
As is the case so often.
So we went over to the other side of Florida, Sarasota area, spend time with some of our friends and just get away for a day. We spend Thursday night there, and we get up Friday morning, and I'm going to take Lysandra and the girls to Starbucks to get coffee. And then we're going to go to the beach, play volleyball, do some swimming and things like that before we get lunch. We're on the way to Starbucks, and Lysandra, and by the way, I've asked Lysandra if it's okay if we talk about this today, so don't come back and email us like, how could you talk about that?
Yeah.
So this is something we've agreed that we can talk about.
Well, and here's one reason why I want Thomas to talk about this, or I'm okay with Thomas talking about it, is because I get women coming to me somewhat frequently and saying things like, you're such a good mom. I want to be like, no, I'm not.
Only knew.
Yeah, so here's proof.
I will say by the end of it, it proves you are a good mom.
Okay. I certainly have failures.
So we're on our way to Starbucks, and I can sense right away Lysandra she's tense.
I'm intense.
I don't know why, because sometimes you just know, like certain things happen in the morning and you know why. Nothing had happened that morning.
Yeah, everybody was being good. Everybody was on time.
We're on our way there, and Lysandra is very intense about making sure, like, each of the girls are going to order for themselves. Lysandra's not doing that anymore.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm sick of this.
Because she will often do that. And what happened the night before, we went out to supper at a place that I don't recommend you go to. The food was not great. The service was not great.
Service was terrible, and that was part of the problem. Yeah.
But what Lysandra often does, rather than making the kids go do something, or even asking me, hey, can you go do that? She will just go do it. So the food comes, and there were like 3 or 4 different things that weren't right, or they forgot something, or whatever. So rather than just being able to sit down and enjoy her food, she was up and back and forth and all this.
And listen, nothing will make me angrier than not being able to eat.
Mess with her food. Yeah, don't do that.
Don't touch my food, y'all.
Lysandra and I joke with Lysandra about a lot of things. I don't mess with her food.
Do not mess with my food, y'all. Seriously.
Unless I'm ready for war.
I'm getting hot right now thinking about it.
after that whole thing, Lysandra was pretty upset about that. But right, the day passes, we sleep, we get up in the morning. I've forgotten all about it. But she's so tense about this. In the way that you were talking to the girls, it was just, I felt like it was over the top.
Yeah, I wasn't being nice. I wasn't yelling, but I was being snarky, and I was being a jerk.
So I dropped them off at Starbucks, and I'm going to run to the gas station to get a Red Bull because I don't drink coffee, and to get my caffeine that morning. And I literally thought about texting you because we are firm believers in not correcting each other in front of our kids. And so I was going to text you about, hey, you were a little harsh with the girls, I feel. But I didn't have time with what I was doing. So they get their coffees. I pick them up. We head to the beach, and I think you had apologized to the girl. Maybe at Starbucks. Were you in Starbucks or outside?
No, we were outside of Starbucks, and I stopped, and I was like, "Girls, I know you're mad at me. I know that I've been a jerk, and I'm sorry." And I was apologizing like that. Like I wasn't angry.
There, but later on when she got back in the car, she had that same intensity.
Yeah. So I did apologize, and I'm like, I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. And I'm like verbally saying this out loud to my children. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just want to cry. I don't even know why. And everybody's upset. The tension in the minivan is terrible.
So they get in the van, and I think everything's happy. Like all of a sudden, I notice out of the corner of my eye, I'm going to make a turn. I can see Catherine, and her eyes are like red. Like she's either been crying or about to cry. I'm like, what's wrong? And then I look back, and Abigail's in tears. She's way in the back of the car, and I was like, Abigail, are you crying? What did I miss? Like, what is going on right now?
So then I'm like, everybody's crying because of me. It's me. I'm the problem. I made everybody cry. And I'm still like mad like that. And I did. I made all my children cry.
Yeah. But, and you said, I apologized, but you were still tense. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. And one of the things the girls, Catherine and Abigail brought out is, listen, you're saying you're sorry, but you sound like you're still angry with us.
Right.
And so by that point, we got to the beach and we parked in the parking lot.
And then I said, I don't know why I sound like this. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I just started bawling my eyes out.
So we stopped. I said, girls, stay in the car. Lysandra, let's go outside and take a little walk and have a conversation. And so Lysandra needed a sanity check in that moment.
Yeah, and I was like, what's wrong with me?
And
why am I so mad?
You are insane in this moment.
And I was like, I agree. Why am I insane?
And so I was able then, like not in front of the girls, to say, you were harsh. Like for what has happened this morning, your tone and your harshness wasn't appropriate. And then she's like, I don't know why it's coming out like this. Well, your sister's going through some stuff. She has cancer and is going to be having surgery, and there's some stress there.
Yeah, and I had been messaging her that morning, and we have been doing a devotional together from a distance on cancer. So it's just really in front of my face, and I'm fielding all of her social media comments and things and posting for her so she doesn't have to do that. And I didn't realize that it had put such pressure on me and that I was kind of like a pressure pot boiling. I didn't know it. I truly didn't. Like because my faith is strong. I trust God. I'm not scared for her. I feel bad for her and that she's going through this, and it's hard to be away. It's hard to be a long ways away. But I didn't even know that it was upsetting me like it was. And it came out over ordering at restaurants. Yeah,
and so I hugged her. I hugged you. I let you just cry it out. Compose yourself. And then here's what makes Lysandra a good mom. We get back in the van. Lysandra genuinely apologized to the girls for the way that she had talked with them. And then she went on to explain, okay, well, I've got this going on in my life. This is not an excuse. I'm not using it as an excuse. Just want to let you know why it kind of came out the way that it did. And I'm sorry, and I'm going to work to change that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's great. And I think that a lot of us can learn a lesson there from how Lysandra handled that, because she helped the girls to understand, and then rather than making an excuse, I just apologized. I'm sorry. And of course, they accepted her apology, and we got everything smoothed out, relationships back to good, and then we were able to go on and play volleyball and go to the beach and have lunch and just enjoy the rest of our time there. But
right. And we are blessed because we can do sanity checks between the two of us because we're both on the same page about most things. We parent together fairly well. And that may not be an option for you. You may not be able to go to get a sanity check from your spouse. And I'm sorry for that, because that makes it really hard for you. But you can get sanity checks from your parents if you respect them and their parenting. Maybe it's peers who are parenting right now and they're doing it really well. Maybe it's older parents who have raised their children well, or leadership in your church, and you can go get these sanity checks. So try to find some parents that you trust and ask them for a sanity check if you just aren't sure about this area that you're making such a big deal. Find out if you can let it go. So just check in with them about these things and see what their advice would be.
And if you don't have a trusted parenting friend, a couple that you feel like you can talk to your spouse about it, listen, you can email us, info@familymeeting.org, and we'd be happy to help you with any of your parenting questions as well. So if you just say, hey, listen, this is the situation, this is the scenario, hey, am I crazy for this? Like, is this the right way to, how would you handle this situation? We're more than happy to share with you what we would do in that scenario.
Right. And we have people in our lives personally who do that often.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And if you don't want us to talk about it on the air, just say, listen, let's just keep this private, but this is what I'm going through.
Yeah.
We have plenty of people that do that.
Absolutely.
But let's change the focus of the conversation just a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk about what happens when we don't try to correct this behavior in ourselves. What happens when we really do make everything a big deal? As we've been saying, then nothing is a big deal.
Well, I can testify to being in a family like that, visiting a family like that. I grew up with some friends whose parents yelled a lot. And it upset me because my parents really didn't yell, or at least very, very rarely did my parents yell. So going to their house and hearing constant yelling was kind of awful for me. And I would look at the kids, my friends, who were being yelled at, and I would think, oh, I'm glad I'm not them. That looks awful. Then I noticed that my friends were laughing as their mom was screaming in their face. Or they wouldn't even stop playing when their mom came in and screamed at them. And I thought it was really weird because it upset me a lot, but the kids were immune to it. And that's what I realized is she yelled so much that they were immune to her yelling. She yelled so much that it was normal for these kids. And as we've said, if everything's a big deal, then nothing's a big deal.
Well, and it reminds me of something that just happened the other day. I was invited to go speak to a pastor's group that was meeting, and while I was speaking, a train or something went by.
Yep.
I didn't notice it. You mentioned it to me later. But where I grew up and where we lived, trains went by all the time. And so I just literally stopped hearing the train. So I had no idea this train went by while I was speaking. That's kind of the way it is with our kids. If you're yelling about everything, they just kind of drown it out. And then they don't hear anything that you're saying.
Right.
So as we think about attempting to be better parents, more balanced in choosing our battles, it may help us all to think about the end result of making a big deal out of everything. And today we want to share a testimonial of a listener who was raised in a home where everything was a big deal. It wasn't necessarily that it was always yelling. These parents went after everything, and shows that every battle they used shame as their weapon. And here's what this listener had to say about the lasting effects of that. So I'm going to share with you their story. When everything you do is shameful, and they have shameful in quotes there, then you basically become numb to it. Growing up, my every action was analyzed and corrected. I was constantly criticized. The big stuff and the small stuff. All in caps, the time. I was an only child with a stay-at-home mom, so even my time in the bathroom was questioned. Although my parents praised my achievements, I was continually reminded that I was doing something wrong or I should have done better. I understand that is true because no one is perfect. However, when you're used to disappointing your parents, then disappointment then is normal and expected.
Wow.
You just accept that whatever you do will disappoint them. And you block the feelings and emotions that allow you to care. Because my every action was under surveillance, I developed an overall secretive personality from my parents and family. Hiding was the only way to get relief. Being secretive seemed to keep me safe from constant criticism and became easier and easier to sneak and hide and lie. Those actions repeated over time built a character that was numb to feeling shame even when doing wrong. As I grew, I would continually choose to do what I knew to be wrong without caring about any consequences to myself or others. I was not raised in a Christian home, and I believe that the cultural influence of society greatly influenced my decisions as well. After I accepted Jesus in my life, I went through a long time of deep reflection and inner healing. During that time, I processed much of the shame that was buried deep in my past. I was able to turn it over to Jesus and move on. Praise God for that.
Yeah.
Although I've been cleansed of the shame, I still live with the consequences. Now I'm a parent, and notice how I have unconsciously continued some of the harmful behaviors with my children. I can see the effects, and it breaks my heart. I need to be extra mindful of choosing battles with my children as to not discourage them and cause the same harm that I experienced. I continually reevaluate and adjust accordingly to improve our relationships and protect their emotional development.
Wow. That is so beautifully transparent and honest.
And it helps us to understand that if we don't reevaluate, if we do just make everything a big deal, the long-term effects that it have, because then you're not just affecting your own children, that can go on down the line to grandchildren and everything as well. So it is important for us to stop and to evaluate.
And I think it's interesting that this listener describes becoming numb to it. She's just numb to it.
Yeah.
It didn't make any difference anymore. And we've got to really think about that in our own parenting. Are we saying the same thing over and over and over in the same way about things that don't matter? And they're just numb to it anyway. We're not making any difference. And then when we talk about the things that are truly, truly important, they're numb to our words. They're numb to the way we deal with them. And so we really need to be reevaluating and thinking this through. What's important? What's actually a big deal? Go after the things that are a big deal, but go after them in the right way. Not with criticism, not with shame, not with guilting them, but just in a loving way, correct behavior, and in love, speak the truth in love, right?
And so here's what we want you to do with the family meeting tonight is we want you to sit down as a couple and just think about your parenting pie chart.
Okay.
I would even recommend going out today and getting a pie. And have a slice of pie where you're talking about your pie chart.
You know it's a good podcast when you are instructed to buy pie.
Yeah. We went to this place. I'm going to get back to the family meeting in just a minute. We went to this place the other day on our family day called Pie Heaven. And they make all the stuff homemade from scratch. It's outside of Jacksonville on Atlantic Beach. Fantastic place. If you're ever in the area, stop by Pie Heaven. Strawberry rhubarb was amazing. So, get yourself a nice pie. Sit down together, have some dessert, and just talk about your parenting pie chart. Mm-hmm. How much time do you spend going after each area of training with your kids? And really just think about it. Obviously, you It's not an exact science, but just think about it. Come up with your best evaluation. Are you too focused on one area and fighting every battle there? And that's a conversation you can have with each other. Hey, babe, is there an area where you feel like I'm just too heavily focused on this one thing? And then answering the question back. Like, what is it that I am focused on that maybe I shouldn't be? And then think about those priorities. What are the top priorities that you want your children to learn and to become so that they can impact the world? And make sure your pie chart lines up with what's really important, that your focus lines up with what's really important. And so you're not making everything a big deal so that nothing is a big deal. You want what's a big deal to be a big deal.
Right.
And what's not really a big deal, like turning the lights off, it shouldn't be a big deal. So that's a good family meeting tonight. Sweeten up the conversation with that pie.
Pie makes everything go down a little easier. It's like a spoonful of sugar. Thanks for joining us today, you guys. Go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org. Or you can shoot us an email, those sanity checks, at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like, you could shoot us a text or call us at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we talk about marriage.
Marriage.
We're going to look at the urge to compete with your spouse rather than compliment your spouse. We are on the same team here.
I'm going to win at that episode.
I'm sure you will.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
Let's go get some pie.
Yes. If you were to choose a pie, what pie would you choose? Like specifically, one flavor. Would it be shepherd's pie flavored? I do like shepherd's pie.
I need to make you another shepherd's pie, baby.
Or maybe you like chicken pot pie.
That's our Christmas day supper, our Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Is chicken pot pie.
Pizza pie. Maybe it's blackberry.
My favorite pie, never mind, I don't have one. I
Lemon
love all
meringue?
pie. No, I don't love all pie.
I knew you didn't like that one.
No, I don't like
I
lemon.
do love a good
I
lemon
like
meringue.
most pies.
Coconut cream. We had this great place in Cedar Rapids where we grew up, Kathy's Pies. They were amazing. Coconut cream pie is great. So if you're in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa area, go grab a Kathy's Pie for me.
The Beasleys bought us some Kathy's Pies when we were in Iowa in June, so we got to have Kathy's Pie at their house. It was pretty awesome.
They're coming soon. So, hey, while you're on your way, pick us up a pie and bring it down.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.